NEONnoir is a gritty cyberpunk fantasy that respects your time. On Amigos, everything Amiga. Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we cozy into our gritty cyberpunk apartment to talk about NEONnoir. Aaron, would you say that you are a fan of the cyberpunk sort of genre?
I am. I'm a fan of the cyberpunk genre, and I'm a fan of like the gumshoe detective
hard-boiled
genre too. Yeah, I like both those things. It's always a good mix. Too,
what drew you to cyberpunk?
Well, you know, being a computer guy from way back, I mean, I've been into it since it came around, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I was pretty early into, like, Gibson, and, you know, I was into, like, guys in the... I mean, it's not like he started everything, you know, but if you were into science fiction, even in the 70s or 60s, people touched on futuristic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the futuristic detective story... It's funny because I'm reading I've got old issues of Alfred Hitchcock's Mystery Digest. It was a monthly magazine.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them.
Did you ever read Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators novels?
No.
There was where he was like, it was like Scooby-Doo, but Alfred Hitchcock was there.
No, these were like, this is sort of like Twilight Zone magazine.
Okay.
These are like magazines under the name of Alfred Hitchcock's Mysteries or whatever, but they're not, it's not like he wrote them. But I've been reading this detective futuristic sort of mystery story, and so when I played this, it's like, bam, this is like a perfect match here.
Yeah.
I was ready to go. Plus, you know, if you've seen Blade Runner or something, like, this is perfect for that. Those movies were real popular for a while. I mean, I guess the last one I really liked, I'm trying to think of, that genre, I mean, you can watch that. It's not too horrific. Are there favorites that you had in there?
Well, I've always liked the aesthetic because it's always raining, you know, and it's this rainy cityscape with these really bright neon lights.
Yeah.
Everything's written in Japanese.
Yeah.
I think Blade Runner started that. I think that's where that came from. And you've got these kind of shady characters. They're shady, but they're not afraid of wearing a lot of purple and pink, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, or Hawaiian shirts.
Exactly.
Whatever, yeah.
So it's like you've got these really colorful characters in this really sort of dark, dingy, yet brightly lit, artificially atmosphere.
Yeah.
Plus everything is future tech, you know?
Yeah.
So what's not to love, really?
Right. If I had to pick my favorite amongst the movies, at least, there's a movie called Strange Days that came out. It took place in a alternative, like, year 2000, basically.
So not the far-flung future.
Right, but the premise of it is the technology had came around to let you plug in and basically have like a mental movie player, and you could record what you were doing, and you would sense and feel that. It was a real good film. It was underrated. But, like, you also can't overlook stuff like Blade Runner, which is another great one.
What was the one with Wesley Snipes? Judge Dredd.
Oh,
right? Didn't he come back from the future?
I don't know. I didn't like the comics.
I don't know if that's true or not. I can't remember. Demolition Man is what I'm thinking.
I never saw that either.
Yeah, it was like everything. It was also sort of a cyberpunk thing.
It's a cool genre. You know, I'm still waiting here for my Neuromancer big screen adaptation. It's a lot like the Lord of the Rings was. Like, it's been hovering around forever, but it just doesn't get done.
It's crazy that hasn't been made into a movie, given the importance of that novel in this whole genre.
Yeah, and this also had a distinct. If you've ever played a game called Shadowrun, which is a great game,
Great
Gary
tabletop
Gygax
role-playing game and video game.
Gary Gygax was prominent, and I guess he was the main developer of it back after he left TSR. And it had a real neat, of course, it had a lot of decking and hacking and street samurais. And there's really not, this game doesn't delve into that too much, but it does mention that people have their heads and bodies altered. I mean, obviously the guy's touching on the fact that he's in a world very similar to like a Shadowrun world.
Oh, yeah.
So that's appealing too. when that game came out, like we were really into it. We played the heck out of it back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean that genre is bigger than ever. You think about, you know, that Cyberpunk 2049 game that came out a couple of years ago.
Have you had a look at that?
I've watched some gameplay footage of it. It's very stunning. It's also very violent. I probably won't play it.
Well, I mean, the future's violent. I mean, you got to think even in Neuromancer and the sequels to it, like you've got people with like monofilament whips and stuff. I mean, there's a nasty. You know, they'll kill you. They cut you in half, brother.
Yeah.
So there's no pretty way to show it.
Yeah. And so, Aaron, with all that said, with the stage being set, let's talk about Neon Noir.
Very moody.
Yes,
It's a moody soundtrack, but I will say it does change up quite a bit as you go through the game. So this week we're talking about Neon Noir. Cool name. This was released or submitted, I guess, in 2022 as part of a contest to program in Amiga Blitz Basic. It was the Amiga Blitz Basic Game Jam.
Was this another one of Amiga Cammy's Game Jam?
No. There are tons of these game jams. She just has one.
I see.
And this thing did quite well. At least I looked at the ratings on it. It finished number one in a lot of the various categories. So you would consider this, I guess, I don't know what you would call this. I wouldn't call it public domain or freeware. This is one of those deals where you go to itch.io and you...
It's a pay what you want.
Pay what you want. Pay what you want. This is the perfect game for that. We'll get into why. So this was developed by an outfit called Mass Produced Games, but really it was created by a fellow named Steam Knight. I looked, because this is his only credited Amiga game, but I was like, that can't be right. And it is, as far as I can tell, his only credited Amiga game, but he's done several of these contests. He did a game for Windows called Azure Rising, which I had to look at it. It's sort of it's an interesting game where it's sort of like a combination of, say, like those dungeon crawlers where you go through a block at a time, but you actually fight in real time. But the things you're fighting are almost look like large board pieces with like a base, but they're like human.
Oh, like a standee.
Yeah, that's right. It was a real unusual looking game. He's also got a game called Ankahotep's Prison. This is a browser game. He's got another one called Wart. It's a browser game. Erebos, which is a browser game. And get this. He had a game that I noticed in there called Neon Nose. And I thought that's an odd choice of a name. Well, there's a reason for that, and the reason is it's sort of a mini sequel to the game we're talking about, where you actually go on a little adventure as the dog. And so,
okay,
yeah, it's for Windows and Linux. So these are available too. So if you're interested in checking him out, again, in Steam Night, I would say fairly prolific, and I think he likes these little contests. Coder in this is Massimo Lau. I think I know his wife worked on this and some of their friends. The musician in this, I believe he mentioned that he had. I think the music he basically had hired someone to do. It was Matthias Sosa, I believe was the character's name, and we'll get more into his efforts shortly. This is an AGA only title. Boat, which is, I know you love those. And again, this was written in Blitz Basic. I also had a little article on how he wrote the game, and originally this started out as it was going to be a dungeon crawler. And then,
thank God he changed his mind.
He eventually decided to go in a different direction after, how a game starts to percolate, and and then after he saw certain challenges coming, he decided to make this what it ultimately was. This game comes out of the gate with a real nice opening screen. It's got a nice little tune at the beginning, and then you start the story. We both actually beat this game. I'll let you run down the background.
Okay, so you play as a private eye named Blake Steele.
Yeah.
Which is a great private eye
And he
name.
even mentions that he just ripped that name out of a cheap book.
That's what they all did.
Yeah, which I like that. I mean, the character in the game says that.
Oh, okay.
He's like, yeah, I just got this out of like a 2-credit book.
There's a lot of fourth wall breaking in this game. You've been hired to investigate the disappearance of a girl.
Yeah.
And so the game sets you in a place, I believe it's called the gutter.
Yeah, exactly.
And your job is to walk around the gutter, walk around the seedy part of town, and investigate the disappearance of this woman that has become involved in a lot of shady dealings.
And well, she's addicted to a drug. Mm-hmm. So I thought about this before. I was like, I talked to Bo. I don't know how much just of the plot we want to give, because we could give away the whole plot, and I'm afraid to do that.
Yeah, I don't think we should do that, but we should hit a couple points that are sort of spoiler free.
Yeah. So, good summarization, by the way. It's exactly, it tosses you on the streets in this horrible area, and it's just like you would expect: neon, wet, the whole 9 yards. And this, as you will determine, is you're sort of a classic take on the old point-and-click adventure. The areas are made up of still shots. I don't think there's any animation in any of the areas that I recall. And you basically have a mouse cursor that you move around the screen, and it will tell you if something of any interest comes up. There are several different states for your cursor. It could be a magnifying glass, which basically that just means like it's got a little message it will play at the bottom of the screen to tell you what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. And there's also the exits, which will tell you, when you see an exit, it'll tell you where the exit will take you. You've also got a little square at the bottom right that if you click on it, it would show you your guy. It would explain what you have in your inventory. It will also let you save the game very cleverly, the way they've done this, because they make it look like this guy's like writing it down his logbook or whatever. Also, you can quit there too. So I thought that was kind of clever. What did you think? I mean, obviously the music kicks in. You see these opening scenes. How did the opening of this game strike you, Bo?
Well, I thought it was great. This reminded me a lot of sort of like the early, because it's an AGA game, this is sort of reminded me of a lot of like a 90s PC game where the graphics are really, really digitized almost to the point of being pixel art. Like it's possible that some of these could have been actual photographs that have been altered.
I believe I read it. These are AI.
AI generated. Okay, so it hit me with nostalgia just to look at the way that these were drawn and the way that these were generated. And the first thing I thought was, okay, because whenever we play one of these games, I'm like, all right, it's time to figure out if I'm going to like this or not, and I base that entirely upon how easy it is for me to come to terms with the user interface.
Yeah.
Okay. This game is real easy to come to terms with in the terms of the user interface.
Even I understood it.
You have an inventory and you go through the game and you collect things, but there's no use command. The game assumes that you're going to use the item in the way that you want to do it.
Yeah.
The game doesn't have any of these, moon logic puzzles that are sort of indicative of the point-and-click genre that, let's face it, a lot of times they just use to pad the length of these things. So what you've got is you're going from place to place, you're going through dialogue trees, you're collecting information. Sometimes people will give you things, sometimes people will send you on quests to do things, and then you will go to the next place and you talk to the person. If you negotiate through the right dialogue tree, you will give the item, or you'll manipulate the item in such a way that it will allow you to progress the next part of the story.
Yeah. I think that you summarized it nicely. The interface on this is... This game falls in fact, even he words it this way on the itch.io page. This is somewhere in the ballpark that in the area between point-and-click adventure and an interactive book.
Yeah.
Okay, it's somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. Keeping in mind that this was made quickly for a contest, and I believe it was made with him having little to no experience with using Blitz Basic as well, because he commented on what it's like to use that in 2020, and what he mentions is it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's tough to go back. It was limiting as to what he could do, but of course, why do you make these games? It's a problem-solving effort. But in terms of I'm like you. I'm like, let's see what they've got for us, because you never know.
Right.
Sometimes it's probably the Amazon Queen, and sometimes God knows what it is. Mm-hmm. this is the simplest it could be. It's funny with the inventory, and you mentioned this, that when you pick up an item, you just have the item. And when it's time to need the item, you don't do anything because you just got it.
Right. It's almost like
I would like to have that all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily want to manipulate the key or the book.
And also, it eliminates pixel hunting because you know that there's something you need to pick up in this room, and it's going to be small, so you're going to have to. And you just waste so much time. Listen, I know there's a key here. I want to pick up the key.
Yeah.
I know there's a lock here. I'm going to use the key in the lock. You know,
there's and the game. I don't want to say the game holds your hand, but it will limit what you can do until you have what you need. Mm-hmm. It also does hold your hand a couple times. For example, there's a scene where you're in the missing girl's bedroom. All right, I went to the bedroom. I found what I thought I needed. I was out. I was leaving. It says, as I hit exit, the game said, "I don't think you found everything you need."
I love that. That happened to me one other time.
I was like, well, okay. And so I hunted around a little bit more, but then I found a pile of clothes I didn't see before. Grabbed it, and that was good to go.
Like I said, this game respects your time.
It also doesn't let you go places you can't go yet. You can't, sometimes you can access, listen, some people are going to find this limiting. This is not the most, we both beat this game, and I'm horrible at these games, and I only needed help one time during the whole game. I figured it out. Something else I liked about it was a pretty illogical game.
Yeah.
You weren't doing anything too wacky. The guy wants you to help him hack a thing because the guard knows him. Okay, makes sense. A junkie wants a collectible. Okay, I can understand that. It made a lot of sense, and pretty much all the way to the end, including the mystery portion of the game, which I have to say for something you could run through in an hour, I thought was pretty interesting.
It tells a very satisfying story.
It does. You're not overloaded with characters. You're not overloaded with an inventory full of stuff that you've got to try to use someplace. And the thing is, when I played this, there's an area, you go to your own house, your own apartment. And we'll get to the graphics in a minute because I want to touch on that. But you go to your own apartment, and in your apartment is what you'd expect. But you've got a dog there, your pet dog. I like the fact that you could play with the dog and feed the dog. It just goes so. Every time I went there, I did that because I was like, I don't want the dog to think I don't love it.
Right.
But he's got a computer there, and they could have. And what you learn in this game are different database lookups, okay? Which is something else you get. It's not inventory, but it's sort of the same thing. It's like you're adding to your contact list or something. That's great, and you could have expanded that exponentially into extra parts of the game if you wanted to, much like a Neuromancer, where you use the terminals. You go into a whole different world with bullet boards and stuff. A game like this could have that I'd love to see a sequel where that's in there, something like that.
One thing we should mention is that inside your apartment, it's not just any computer that's there; it's an Amiga 1000.
Yeah. But the interface is very cunning in its simplicity, I guess is the best way we put it. Now let's talk about, and you touched this briefly. Let's talk about the graphics in this. Again, we're talking about stills. There's no animation in these, but they are expertly done to fit the mood. I thought anyway, to fit the mood and the flavor of the game. The neons, the rain, the muck, the shading. It was all quite nicely done. I don't think there was a scene in this that I didn't enjoy looking at.
I spent time in this game. Just kind of when I would go to a new scene, I would just take time and look.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's something about the neon colors and the rain. It's because I enjoy the cyberpunk aesthetic.
Yeah. The fact, and you go to for a game of this size, you go to several. It's not like there's only 5 locations. You're going to go maybe 10, 12 places in the game.
Yeah, you travel really all over the city,
and they look good. It's funny towards the very end, there was a room that I had missed my first visit about that place. It didn't cost me, but I was surprised. There's something I didn't know. I could have even missed a few things along the way. I don't think I did. The characters, whether they were pictures or AI, I'm pretty sure I read these were AI rated, but I could be crazy. Whatever they are, they suit perfectly. They've got it. It does have that sort of DOS feeling to it, but it looks good.
Yeah.
It's better. I mean, it looks real good.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters they've got, the dialogue, some of the dialogue is actually quite funny.
Yeah.
The chick in the laundromat was particularly amusing. She had some good one-liners in there. And you're right. Sometimes they would go out and talk to you as a player or make fun of the genre.
Right.
You know?
Right. So, and again, we could talk about all that stuff, but we want you to play the game.
Yeah.
This is worth playing.
So, I beat this game. I started this game and beat it in about almost 55 minutes or so. And I don't know how it's quicker you could do it. You probably could do it quicker, but not if you want to look around.
Right.
I felt like it was a good use of that 55 minutes. I thought it was a good time. I'm assuming you beat it in a similar time.
Yeah, it took me about an hour.
Yeah. Could you see playing more games like this?
Well,
is this what you like to play?
As I age, as I become older,
You hate to say it too, don't you?
I enjoy what I like to call bite-sized gaming experiences.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like when you go to the Applebee's and you get the little thing in the cup. It's got like the different kinds of mousse in it. They call it a shooter.
Yeah.
You know? I like those. Of course, I eat more than one of those when I go out. But
you got to.
But I enjoy, something that will give me a full arc in about an hour.
Yeah.
This is a criminally underserved branch of gaming.
Yeah.
There is so much opportunity to give players that, don't, it's not as if I don't have time to play a longer game, but I feel after I'm playing the game for about an hour, I'm just ready to do something else. I just don't have that mindset to grind anymore.
Yeah. I do.
And so this game is my game of the year so far.
Wow.
I mean, it is.
Holy moly.
I had more fun playing this game, being Blake Steele and exploring this world than I have any other game that we've done on Amigos this year. And the reason why is because this game ticks all the buttons for me. It has, you have control over what you're doing, okay? There isn't really a fail state. There's no point where, you die and you have to start over again and retrace your steps, wasting your time.
Yeah.
You've got great graphics. You've got real atmospheric music that changes depending on
the music. The music's quite good.
You go to a club at one point and it's playing your club music.
Yeah.
You go to the alley has real eerie music.
Yeah.
All of those things contribute to the feeling that you're inside this world. You've got a really well-written story. I mean, the story this isn't one of these games that has a horrible ending and you're just like, man, that was crap.
Yeah.
This is great. It's like a short story. I can understand why some people would be turned off by this game because it does lean a little towards the interactive fiction type thing where there isn't a lot of player choice. You sort of are railroaded.
Yeah.
But for me, I just want a good experience. I want to go in and have a good experience, and that's what this game delivers on.
When this came up, I didn't know what to expect because these point-and-click games aren't my bag.
Mm-hmm.
That said, you're very close to the way I feel about the game. This game is an hour game. All right, the puzzles in it are sensible. They're not real difficult. I never came close to dying. I don't know if you can die.
I don't think it's possible.
It does have saves in case you need them. But I learned something about myself, and it's sort of what you said. Most of my gaming is twitchy. I'll load up Stunt Car Racer, go around the track, couple tracks, and then I'm done with that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play a couple rounds of Donkey Kong, and then I'm out. I'll play some elevator action, I'm out. You get the point. I'll have a round or two of Gods, whatever. I don't ever have a round or two of Monkey Island.
Right.
Okay, no matter how great that game is. I can't get into it. It's because I get frustrated. It's too long. I know I'm never going to get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I played this, and I was like, oh, here we go with this. And then I played it, and I got into it. It reminded me sort of like I said, there's books, the radio shows, something like that. I enjoyed it. I played the story. I got into it, and then I beat it, and I felt real good because this gave me a twitchy sort of experience that I like in a point-and-click game, which I didn't know I liked. I know, because I'm out of the loop, maybe you know about this, but I know there are the Telltale games, something like that, where they do these sort of kind of like interactive fiction.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're monthly or even or something like
Right.
that. And I knew about it. I never played one.
I never have either.
But maybe I should try one.
Me too. Maybe we could do that together sometime.
Yeah,
I bet
because
that would be fun.
might be fun. Because if this is sort of like that, like if next month this guy said, "Hey, here's another adventure for Steel," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm in," because I know what to expect and how long it's gonna go. I'm in because it's almost like reading a comic book.
Right.
The suggested price on itch.io for this is $2.
Yeah.
All right. If you paid $2 for this game, and knowing what you're getting, I feel more than confident that I got my $2. I think it's a fair price.
Absolutely. I was happy. I went through, I beat this, and then I went back to Itch, and I paid that $2.
Because he put in some, I mean, again, this is a contest winner, so it's not like he released it to make a ton of bread. Right. But when you do something good, suckers got to get paid. And so it's my contention that maybe throwing some cash at this, maybe we get a little more action.
Especially when you consider games like Tiny Little Slugger trying to sell for $26.
Well, listen, I don't want to. I'm not gonna throw other games because that.
I'm throwing Tiny Little Slug under the bus right now.
They worked hard on that game, both, and they deserve to be compensated as to what they think they deserve. So, and this is a contest game. You're not gonna ask as much like something like that. With all that said, $2 is a good deal. $1 if you're having a rough month. If you're doing pretty good, give the guy $5. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good, and this is the good thing about these. Here's another one: is jams. Much like Cammy's, it's a jam where you get some good action out of it. I mean, this thing didn't exist, and he did it exclusively because it was part of the jam.
And Cammy did point out this was Zuperdan's jam, which Zuperdan is a name we're familiar with.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I can't praise this game enough because it made me not want to kill myself, and in fact, actually enjoy the game. I should say that this game does require an Amiga 1200 with 2 megs of chip RAM, so pretty standard fare boat, and 4 megs or more of fast RAM and a hard drive. Not super, but I mean, let's face facts. How did you play it? Did you use
I use Amiga Forever.
Right, easy as pie. So you can emulate this for $2, you're good to go. Boat, I looked this up to see how, believe it or not, there was a review on this, a modern review, Boat. And of course, the people at Lemon have given this a score of 7, but there were only 5 people that voted, so I would take that number with a grain of salt. Zap Amiga 8, February of 2023, gave this a 77. It's hard. This is a game that's difficult to give a full score because if you have to say, okay, this game is short, and it is, and to a certain crowd, it's going to be very limiting, given what they're used to. So I can absolutely see how some people, this is not your jam.
Right.
It's my jam. I give it a much higher score.
Yeah.
I liked it, and I think it was an excellent one to look at. How do we do with Discord this week?
Level Lord kicks us off. He says the acid rain washed the city's neon blood into the gutter.
Oh man.
Home for those who ran out of options. This is how NEONnoir opens up to the player, with the intimidating image of the buildings, which are nothing but overpopulated, and glorious neon lights reflecting on wet pavement, and a great musical score. If you're into the steampunk, this excellent futuristic adventure will not disappoint. Author of the game Steam Knight or Mass did an outstanding job considering this is his first game in Blitz Basic, while Sandy Sketches and Mateus Sosa created some awesome pieces of art. Game is on the short side. I finished it within a couple hours, maybe less, and resembles a visual novel, but plays superbly for what it is, no nonsense or overly complicated, perfect for the age of the players it is intended for. If you are to download this game, support the author. He deserves it and hopefully will release a couple more games like this. My score is 9 out of 10.
Nice verbiage there by the Lord.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pixels of Dawn writes, at first glance you might think NEONnoir is a point and click, but actually it's more of a visual novel. There's no complex inventory puzzles and no third-person navigation of the screen. It's all about going from scene to scene, interacting with characters, and the odd hotspot. This game looks great, and the music is atmospheric and unobtrusive. Unfortunately, the game is also very short, and it's not particularly difficult. but for the experience of walking through an interesting story, it's a lot of fun. I'm hoping Steam Night can make something a bit bigger and more challenging in the future using the same engine. But if you want some solid sci-fi to pass a few hours, you could definitely do worse. 8 out of 10. Pajako6502 writes, not really a point-and-click adventure, more an interactive novel that is intriguing and actually quite fun to play. Yeah, the storyline is right out of a pulp novel and slapped into a cyberpunk setting, but it works, and for the price you get a couple of hours of entertainment that's worth the money. The artwork in this is great, and I was pleased to see Midjourney had been used, showing a great mixture of old and new technology. The audio was moody and worked well. Hoping to play another Blake Steele story in the future, 8 out of 10. And finally, Mitsuyama writes, the game's cyberpunk visuals capture the essence of a neon-lit dystopia, and the art looks great on a CRT. NEONnoir impresses with its world building, creating an engaging cyberpunk city with interesting characters and storyline. The dialogue adds depth to the experience. The soundtrack adds to the ambience, fitting the cyberpunk theme well. It's worth a try for Amiga enthusiasts and those looking for an immersive, atmospheric journey. Don't overlook this gem. NEONnoir is a solid addition to your Amiga collection, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from these devs. 8 out of 10.
You know, they brought up it because obviously they mentioned the Chat GPT thing in there too, and
Midjourney.
Midjourney. What do you think? Because you and some of the boys in Discord, you guys have been on this the AI art thing for a lot longer than I was. I'm still kind of tardy to the party. What do you think about the use of that in games in general, and what do you think about it in a game like this that you're going for a retro computer? It's quite interesting, isn't it? That it would be used.
It is. I think this is a great example of how to use this well, because I think what they've done is they have a credited graphics person, and so that person has taken a prompt and they generate an image, and then they probably have to tweak it a little bit, maybe move some things around, make sure people have the right number of fingers and all that. And then you just go with it. You go and for a game that's set in sort of a post-apocalyptic future, there's certainly lots of examples that Midjourney can draw from.
Sure.
And like, for example, we're looking right here at the Lost Sock Laundry. Like, this image probably was generated on some level, but then they had to add in all the text and everything like that. So I think it's a nice mixture, and I have no problems with using AI, especially to create kind of pixely artist looks like this.
If you think about the art in this, and we're putting it over, okay, because it's great, and it makes these non-moving scenes really come alive the way they're done. Assuming that AI did the majority of the artwork in this. This is quite the boon, especially if you think about it. Here's a guy who's doing this game, who he may not be an artist himself, and he's got, 4, 5, 6 months to do this game. I find it hard to believe that anyone could do all this art and all these characters in that time by hand. If you're a real good hand,
and
maybe.
You'd also expect to be paid, because that's a lot of...
I'm not even going down that road, but I'm saying this is the perfect use. You're dead on. I agree. Of something like this that will take care of something, maybe an aspect that you're not that skilled at. I'm not saying this guy can't draw. He might be great, but he's busy programming in a language he barely knows.
Right.
It's got to be a leg up to have something go through and render all the art you need without you having to do every bit of it yourself.
Exactly.
Now, we know there are plenty of outstanding, skilled pixel artists who absolutely earn their pay, including people we've paid to do art for us in the past, because I can't do art. Do you think though, can these two, can the technology and the artisans, can they live in harmony here, both? Or what do you think about that?
Well, undoubtedly, anything that you make with AI, you're taking away money and compensation from a real artist.
Exactly.
So the real artists out there are probably going to start taking on more commissions and start relying more heavily on AI to give them kind of a head start and to decrease the amount of time that they spend on each project. I think that if we're talking about game jams, we're going to be seeing a lot of AI-generated art for game jams, because what are you expecting to make on this thing?
Right, exactly.
But as far as commercially released games go, I think what we're going to see is more and more people are going to make a bigger deal out of we created all of this art by hand, and it's going to become a more boutique style product.
It seems to me that there's a midway point here where you could insert an artist who works in the medium of the AI and takes, like you mentioned, someone's going to take care of the various botches and things that don't work right. Maybe you're going to have someone that's a hybrid that will come in there and do both.
Well, it's sort of like the way maybe 40 years ago, the idea of a DJ that put together a bunch of different samples wouldn't be seen as a musician. Yeah. But now we see them as an artist. We're going to have people that turn AI prompting into an art form.
Interesting, Boat. I like that. Yeah, I think you may have nailed it there. Overall, though, I think this is a dandy game. And if this is one you haven't checked out, head over to itch.io and pull this one down, throw a few bucks. I guarantee you will absolutely at least get your $2 worth. And hopefully, this isn't the last time we're going to see steel in the field, Bode.
Welcome to Retro Rewind. I'm your host, British Jones. Whether you're into the Amiga, Commodore 64, or Tiger floral print speed suits, Retro Rewind has all you need from the friendly hosers of the Great White North. Looking to upgrade your Amiga? Check out the Amiga OS 3.2.2 Kickstart ROM for just $18. Or maybe you need a C64 or C128 diagnostic harness. Grab one while they're hot. Don't miss our best sellers like the 1541 Transit Card for just $1, or the incredible Amiga Coin Cell Battery Adapter. Shop now at Retro Rewind Limited and bring your classic computers back to life. Retro Rewind Limited. Frank's the man.
Amiga News.
You know, Aaron, it's been a busy week here in the world. The last couple of weeks we've had have been pretty light on news, but this week we got some really meaty stories. The first one is not necessarily Amiga related, but it is Amigos community related, Aaron.
That's right.
Tell us about what's going on here.
Well, this is a collection from our buddies over at the Midnight Brew Games. This is a collection of games involving our good buddy Happy Coding. They've got a limited edition collection that contains 5 games. Let's have a look at it here, Bode. This right here is the 2023 version. Let's see what we've got here. You've got 5 games here, Bode. Wow, did you know there was a Mr. Do in this collection, Bode?
No. So you got Lunar Rescue, Ooze the Escape, Maze Death Rally, Mr. Do, and a game called Nothing. You get all of these. These games have never been previously released on cassette or are no longer in print. And these games are only currently available to attendees of Crash 2023.
Right.
But if there are any left over after Crash, you might be able to pick some up after the event. But if you're planning on going to the big ZX Spectrum shindig over in England, give yourself a little treat and order the Midnight Brew collection from ko-fi.com/midnightbrewawesome.com.
You're just going to barely miss this event, aren't you, Bode?
I am. I'm going to be arriving in England literally like 2 days after it's done, so I just missed out.
Yeah, so check this out. Hey, listen, we like Midnight Brew. I have not tried, at least, I don't think I've tried any of these. The Mr. Do is on the list, Bode.
Oh, yeah.
We may have to have a talk later about that.
Yeah.
So check these out. They should be a lot of fun. We'll put a link up in the old show notes for that one, Bode.
Now, Aaron, our next story, if there's one thing that Amiga fans love, it's trying to make their awesome supercomputer do something that a normal PC could do in 1992, and that's run Doom. We have another attempt here called Dread.
No, it's Grind.
Grind. It seems like we've been talking about this game for a while. What makes this game different than a lot of other efforts is that this runs on a bog standard Amiga 500. And it runs incredibly smoothly.
I heard a lot of people talking about this week, Bode. This is the new hotness.
Yeah, so there's a new level. This one looks to be like a combination indoor-outdoor level. And I will say, I mean, this game looks, would you call this Doom level, or is this more Wolfenstein 3D level graphics?
This is somewhere in the middle, but we've seen this motion previously, so they've moved up the scale. Maybe I don't remember us talking about this before, so I'm guessing it was in another game, but I mean, look at that. I mean, listen, if this had came out back in the Dizzy, you'd have been a happy happy young feller. That's some good-looking Doom-esque gameplay there, Bode.
Yeah, and this will run on an A500 with 512 chip and 512 fast.
See, that's
so
the amazing thing right there. It's got all kinds of goodies in here. I mean, that's awesome. I can't believe that. I've heard a lot of people talking about this, so I got to lay hands on this bad boy. Now, is this hasn't came out yet, right?
No,
This is the demo.
still in development.
I think they got something super spicy going on here, Bode. Who's putting this together? Do we have a name into this? You may have mentioned it.
Grind Team.
You make up everything, Bode. Let's see who's doing this. I'm trying to look.
It's all B-Zilly. That's what it says.
Is that who it is?
B-Zilly.
Well, listen, I salute you, man. You're right. It is a never-ending quest, but it's like when you go back and buy that toy or bike or old watch or whatever you always wanted. It may be dumb. It may seem ludicrous to some other suckers, but you hold it tight and dear.
That's
because
true.
That's close to your heart, Bo.
That's true. So, Aaron, we move on to our next story. This one is going to thrill you.
Oh, boy.
Prince of Persia.
Yes.
Classic Amiga game is making its way to a computer that you have recently bought.
It is?
Yes. There is an MSX port of Prince of Persia in the works, and it looks pretty darn good.
Wow. Did they port this? Is this ported from the Amiga version? Because it looks very similar.
I think it might be. It might be because it looks very clear. Aaron, you had a play with the old MSX. Were you impressed with what you saw on there?
Oh, yeah. The MSX is that game, you talk about another computer has untapped potential. That's like, to me, that's sort of like the Japanese equivalent of the ZX in terms of the library. Just this beefy library. Some of it's crap. Some of it's crap you've never seen before. It's crazy. Some of it's hidden gems. Some of it's great ports, bad ports, everything in between. I have just barely scratched the surface of it.
Well, as we continue to monitor this, I'm sure that you will want to fire this up on your MSX multi-cart gimmick.
Looks like it's also getting ported to the ColecoVision and the SG-1000 as well. That's, we both like all those systems, so we're down. It does look very similar to the Amiga version, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's where that's the tie-in anyway. But
that's the tie-in. All right, Aaron. Next up, we have a brand new talk about going from one side of the system requirements to the other.
I saw this being played. I had a good hard look at this.
Reshoot Proxima 3.
Yeah.
Developed by Richard Lowenstein, Kevin Saunders, and Altraz Virgil.
Yeah.
This is the Kevin Saunders. He's that guy that always beats out Barkbit for the art contest judge. I think there's home cooking involved.
Well, this guy's a pretty good judge, Bo.
Well, look at this thing. This thing looks amazing. This looks like a freaking Neo Geo game.
This is I watched this being played, several levels of play on this, and it looked. I mean, what you got here, Bo? Cool guy backgrounds with old school shooter foregrounds. It's got a little bit of Xenon 2 in it, if I'm honest. Because in some areas you have to even the ship backs up, and that's there are places you can go. It's you got a lot of weapons. You've got big boss fights. Boat. Now I believe that as you mentioned, you're not going to be playing this on the stock A500.
No.
Not with the way stuff's going here. But
No.
I mean, it's got rotoscope. It's like there's a lot of effects. They've got a lot of crazy effects in here.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, you don't need a crazy Amiga to play this. This will run on an A1200 and above.
Yeah.
And you can pick this up right now for €30.
€30. Now, it's funny. We just played. When I saw this, I saw that price, and the digital download. This is still pretty expensive too. I mean, I don't think you can get a break on the download.
Yeah, the download version is €30. If you want everything else, it's going to be more.
Yeah, I mean, €30. So, and this is also available through. I think it's Amiga Shop.
Amigashop.org.
So, what do you think about having just seen it? I mean, do we live in an age where you're going to pay, $35 for a game like that?
Well, I feel like shooters are a little bit different breed. I think that people are always looking for something that approximates your Japanese bullet hell style shooter on the Amiga. And another reason that you might be picking this up is that the reshoot guys, this is not their first rodeo. They've sort of established
clearly not.
themselves
Yeah.
as having a superior product. I think that I'm looking for another price for the physical edition, and
to me, this is to me.
oh, okay. So that you're paying $50 for the signature edition,
Right.
which comes on a USB stick.
My thing is a digital download, 30, I mean, that's euros, so you're talking 33 bucks, whatever. That's a little pricey for digital download.
I mean, you're getting into tiny little slug territory.
Like, I mean, I hate to compare this, but for example, I can get one of Nick Morente's games on the Coco, and good games too. It's not like they're slouches with a full awesome printed case and a printed CD, and it's like half that price.
Here's what I think it comes down to. The Amiga scene is full of rich old dudes.
So it's the Coco scene?
No, the Coco scene is not. The Coco scene is full of guys that are just barely scraping by.
That's not true.
Okay?
They're making good money.
The Amiga guys are driving Lambos and living the good life. And so they can afford to buy a game that's digital download only that's a shooter for $30.
I'm just going to say this right now. When Curtis clips this part out of the show, I don't agree with Boat. I think all you Coco people are fine, rich men who also may or may not drive Lambos. So don't give me that Boat, ostracizing all the Coco people. Good Lord. But anyway, this does look good. Now, I'm going to reserve judgment until I have a play on it. Now, at $30, I wouldn't mind a review copy, wink, wink, if you want to send one my way. I'm not sure I'm going to pay the $30 until I see someone play it and give me
or until the selection committee chooses it for us.
Well, then then
way.
we're boned, I guess, and that has happened. Yeah, have we ever paid that much for a game?
Never.
No.
That would be a new record.
That's the new record.
Yeah. Aaron, up next, we got one more new game, and this one looks spectacular, especially when you consider the game that we just played and enjoyed. This is a new downloadable game called Mansion of Madness for the Amiga.
I live in that mansion.
Okay. And this is an Amiga OS 3 game. Okay, so if you're a part of that crew, you can do that. This is
the Level Lords crew.
Yeah,
those people are driving double Lambos.
This is programmed in Blitz 3, and this is a visual novel, Aaron. So not unlike what we just got done playing.
All right.
So in this game, this game is it'll last you about 30 minutes, depending on your choices and your read speed. There are 5 different endings, and Aaron, you'll love this. Warning, age 18 plus, sexual content.
Oh, working a little blue?
That's right. That's
wait a
right.
minute, hold on a second. Back up for a minute. Did you tell me this has 30 minutes of gameplay?
30 minutes of
and
gameplay.
Has 5 endings?
5 endings.
How does that work?
Listen, it's just ending in it. The whole game's an ending. That's how it works.
This is already working blue. We're going to edit this right now. There's a bed, there's hugging, there's kissing.
Listen, you just move right on past
One
that.
of the things I like is that you get the choice. Do you want to hug or kiss? You cannot do both.
Listen.
You never do both. You do one or the other. Trust me. That's a Casanova rule, Boat. You hug or they kiss. That's it.
This game is available right now for $2 or more from the author's itch.io page.
Can you emulate that machine? You can't, can you?
3.0, that's the MorphOS machine. That's like the Power P.
We don't have the kind of muscle. Even my most powerful PC, with the Level Lords computer would laugh and kick dirt on. Call a whip. Next time the Lord's in town, we're going to have him get this up, get a little booze, and then we'll work after everybody leaves Boat Fest. We'll turn it on.
Boat Fest after dark, yeah. And finally, Aaron.
Oh, I know what this is.
I know you've all been waiting for the latest edition of the Gas Boodio League.
Gas Boodio.
That's right. It is finally started, and I put this here because
look at that.
Neil. He sort of sprung something on us today.
He did?
Yeah. So this, we're gearing up for the trip to the cave.
Yeah.
So just about a month away. Neil made it known that they're working on a special surprise, a Subbuteo surprise for us over there in the cave. There will be Subbuteo played, and so if you're new to Subbuteo and you'd like to get a little taste,
I like how we've never played it, but you're talking like this is the Subbuteo master.
If you'd like to get a little taste of Subbuteo, I suggest you check out Gas Boodio. This guy plays Subbuteo against himself and commentates on the matches. It's an amazing feat.
Look at that
okay?
stadium he's got there.
Yeah,
Bo.
you'd think he could afford a better timer. So,
but that timer, that's a license by the Sabudio people.
So anyway, you can also watch his press conferences after the game.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
I got to see this.
Yeah. So
That's
anyway,
dedication to a baloney right there.
check out Gasbudio, and again, guys, please join us at the Cave, November 26th. I will be in England, in Stroud, with Neil and a cast of thousands of Amigos listeners and fellow Amigos. We're going to have a great time playing games and playing Sabudio.
That is, I got to say, that's one of the wackier things that I've ever seen, Boat. That is one crazy bit.
Now, Aaron, before we move on to what we're going to play next week, we
Yes,
should
sir.
probably give a little recap on the concert we attended.
Oh, yes. We did go see Ringo Starr and his all-star band. And what a band they were, Boat. Now, tell them about the lead-up to this.
So,
Where you were mauled and you almost got me killed by multiple people.
So the Saturday I went to the gym and I injured myself significantly.
Yes.
And so I called Aaron on Monday and I was like, listen, man.
On Monday?
Yeah.
When was the concert?
The Monday.
All right.
The day of the concert. I'm like, listen, man, I can't walk. I'm mauled. Okay? And he's like, all right. And I transferred the tickets over to him and he was calling people. You called like all your friends, right?
Well, you told me, listen, you called the Brent.
Right.
And so I called the Brent and he's like, I got to work. Right. And so I was like, I better call Boat back because maybe he'll feel better. Mm-hmm. But then you did. I mean, I guess.
Yeah. So then I was like, you know what? I was like, Eep was home. The restaurant was closed. She was knocked out on the couch.
Yeah.
She was not getting up the rest of the night. And I was like, boy, I can either sit here in pain and feel sad the rest of the night,
Yeah.
or I can try to go to this concert and be a man.
Yeah. The power of Ringo compelled you to get off the couch.
It did. And so I called Aaron up. He rolled up in the Jeep and we took off for Charleston.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was ready.
Yeah. So Aaron, tell us about the show.
Well, we rolled in. We saw the hoser there,
Yep.
Professor Wrestling in the house with his wife, Tim Legg. And then we rolled into our seats, good seats. Tell them your cunning seat maneuver.
So the seat maneuver is you always assume that there's people are buying tickets in couples.
Yeah.
So whenever you see a spare 3-seat slot, you take that slot and you leave the seat on the aisle open.
Yeah, it worked out great because then I just slid over to that aisle seat and was enjoying the concert in complete comfort.
Yes.
And so they come on the stage. They were prompt, too, right at 7:30.
Right at 7:30, Ringo walked on stage and raised the fingers.
Yeah, Ringo's a total gimmick, by the way. He's coming out with his love piece nonstop. He looks like Jimmy Hart, very similar to Jimmy Hart. And then the All-Stars come scrambling out. Now, I knew one of the All-Stars, and I knew at least one of the other All-Stars had been in a band that I knew. That was all I knew about the All-Stars. So they come out, and I don't even remember what song they led with. They one I didn't even know. And then Ringo started introducing the All-Stars, and he introduced Edgar Winter. Now, if you don't know who Edgar Winter is, he was in the Edgar Winter group, among others. But he came out, and Edgar Winter grabbed the mic, and this guy was like The Rock.
Yeah.
Like, he grabbed the mic, and he was the most, unbelievable guy you ever heard on the stick.
It was amazing. He cut a full 5-minute promo on everybody in the band.
He looked like a rock and roll Gandalf. Long white hair, this huge white beard, and this kind of like tie-dye-ish looking shirt, weird looking. But he came out and was just going nuts. And then of course, if you don't know who Edgar Winter is, he's the first guy that had the cunning plan to put a strap on a full-size synthesizer and wear it around like a guitar.
That's right.
And he did it. So he played. What was the first song they played for?
They played the mountain is high. Free ride. Yeah.
And then he introduced the next guy. Well, the next guy, what was the next guy's name? With the frizzy hair and the guitar.
His name was the guy from Africa.
He's the guy. He was the lead guitarist.
The guy from Toto.
And he was one of the founding members and the last member to leave Toto. And by the way, the guy playing flute and stuff was also in Toto.
Okay.
If you don't know who Toto is, they were a group of like session guitarists or session musicians that like decided to be awesome a couple times, and they were. And so he sings Rosanna, which was awesome.
Yep.
And then they come to the next guy. Well, he was the former guitarist for the Average White Band. So then they play an Average White Band, pick up the pieces. This is great. And by the way, flute, sax, the whole 9 yards.
Everything.
Then they go to the next guy. This is the one that really blew my mind. He goes, yeah, you may have heard of my band. I was the lead singer for Men at Work. I was like,
Yeah, I was not expecting
and then bam, Land Down Under, right out of the gate.
Yep, not screwing around.
So over the course of the evening, we heard every song that Men at Work ever had a hit with in America. We heard several, the only 2 or 3 songs that Average White Band ever had that were I'd heard of. We heard all the songs that were hits from Toto.
And we heard Frankenstein.
And we heard Frankenstein from Edgar Winters. Edgar Winters was a good saxophonist.
Oh my gosh, he played everything, the
bongo,
drums, yeah.
And then Ringo played every song you've ever heard Ringo play except one. He didn't play You're 16, which is one of my personal favorites, I'm not going to lie. But Ringo was good. He had one other drummer. By the way, that drummer, he's done everything. He's a big deal.
I figured he was.
He was on like the soundtrack to like Grease or something.
Wow.
He's older than he looks. He was killing it.
Yeah.
He did a drum break in Frankenstein where he started playing every drum intro to a rock song you ever heard.
It was great.
All of them. All the ones for Zeppelin. All the ones from anybody. He played the intros. It was great. And then they ended the show promptly. I think it's about
9:30.
Yeah,
on the dot.
And I was a little bit later than that.
No, 9:30.
And the Ringo came out and sang "A Little Help from My Friends." Beautiful, just like you expect. He had all his buddies up there singing with him. And that's when it hit me. I was telling Bo, that's the exact moment it occurred to me. Like, this is the guy from the Beatles. He's right there.
Yeah.
We had good seats. Bo didn't skimp on the seats. They were great. And we were right there.
Yeah.
It was a great show.
I would sit there and he would be playing the drums and I'd be watching his hands. I was like, that's the hands from Love Me Do. That's the hands from I Want to Hold Your Hand. It's like everything. That was him.
It's funny. When him and the other drummer were playing, like they were in like perfect lockstep.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was unbelievable. And I was in a band, a high school band, but still, I know what it's like to see snares stuff get it together. This was not that. This was like one of the things. Everyone in this band, like you never heard of the Average White Band. Okay, maybe you're not the biggest fan of Men at Work. Okay, but let me tell you something. These guys they're not in the Ringo's like second tier band.
No,
like these guys had a sound that you don't hear from a professional band. This is a double professional. These are the top shelf like studio artists of their day. These are like Ringo, top drummer, the other guy, top drummer, top guitarist, top everything. It was great. It was so much better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too.
We had a lot of fun. Boat managed to get through the day. Then he walked unmolested up 6 flights of stairs as I was dying.
And then we got in the car and we played the parking lot ballet game.
Yeah.
Getting out of the garage, and I was home by 11.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was fantastic.
A great night. So thank you, Bo, once again, for a tremendous birthday gift. One of the best birthday gifts I ever got.
Thank you.
I loved it.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm glad you got to go. And it would have been heartbreaking
if
your back had kept you from making it to this event. It was so much fun. I wish everyone could go.
And if you're on our Discord, feel free to check out the Amigo Aaron channel where I posted all the videos from the concert I took. All right, guys, it's time to talk about what we're going to play next week. What is it, Aaron?
Man, I've never been this excited, Bo. It's Puzzle Week, and you know what that means?
Static.
Static. You can tell by, if you're watching this, you can tell by the incredible box art that this has no box. So, what you get,
we're getting a double dose of public domania.
It does what it says on the tin, except it doesn't come with a tin. It should be. It might be fun. We don't know. We haven't played it yet.
We haven't played it yet. We'll see. But guys, thank you as always for listening. Patreon.com/Amigos podcast. We will see you next week. And until then, adios.
It's made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.